Garcia.
So how's everybody ready? Okay, try to talk to the mic. Talk to the mic.
Okay, we are live.
I think Mr. Cornel is
Hi.
breaking.
We're live now. Good evening, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Let's Talk About It. On this evening, our topic is going to be how the justice system wrongfully convicted Mr. Legate. Mr. Legate is joining us tonight, but before we get started, I want to do a little housekeeping. Let's talk about it. Help me, Cornel.
It's a syndicated talk show.
It's a syndicated talk show. You know, I get tongue tied, so I'm gonna go back and forth. We're brought to you by the Crew Podcast under the leadership of the visionary Queen Angela Thompson. Without her, Thomas Smith, without her, this wouldn't be possible. And I would like to thank her for giving us this platform to be able to speak up against injustice. Tonight, we have Mr. Legate, and Cornel is going to join us. I'm going to ask Angela to play a quick video to bring everyone up to speed if you don't remember who Mr. Legate is. After the video, you will hear Mr. Legate. Angela?
Okay.
Well, I guess before the video come up, Cornel, I would like for you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Mr. Legate has always known that there was more to this case than what was presented at the trial. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. One of the sound bites the prosecutor's case was that this was a win-and-check case. This was one of the easiest murder cases they've ever tried. And there was a lot of warrant to this. Just the fact that Shanette is out there and existed when they all went up and never find him. And one of the things the prosecutor said was, well, we can bring a case against him. I'm paraphrasing. But the pursuit of justice means more than just are you able to make a case against him, but are you able to question him and even determine whether or not he had anything to do with it. And so, there were a lot of questions that I think we helped to answer in this process. So yes, I agree. I think there was much more to this story.
Did you contact additional people in this documentary for any additional sources, additional information?
I explored a lot of
I don't know if conspiracy theories is the right word for it, but we've got a lot of rabbit holes that were mentioned either in the trial or in some of the appeal paperwork that came after the conviction of Legate. And it's been an extensive amount of time just making sure that those weren't factual. So a lot of the behind the scenes work that we did never even made it. What happens next? Will there be more to follow in the case of Mr. Legate?
That's a good question. I
think Cornel. Well, we're back. I guess we was having a little trouble with the video to get to started. So I'm gonna just go ahead and we're gonna jump into it. I'm gonna have my co-host Cornel go ahead and introduce himself.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Cornel, founder of the Free Sex Campaign, a parole off the news magazine writer, and a partner with the Cool Podcast. And tonight I am a co-host on the show, Let's Talk About It, with my best friend and dear friend, Mrs. Shanette Johnson. And tonight's show is about the injustice within our criminal justice system. And tonight we do have Mr. James Legate, who is willing to come on and tell his story about he was wrong to be convicted within the criminal justice system. And with that being said, I will pass it on to my host, Mrs. Shanette Johnson.
And now, I know you guys been wanting to hear from Mr. Legate. We haven't talked to Mr. Legate in probably about 2 or 3 months. And I wanted to just check in with him and see how he's doing. So, Mr. Legate, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing great, Shanette. Thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure to be here with you and Mr. Cornel. Thank you.
You are welcome. So, I would like for you to introduce yourself. Let the audience know exactly what's going on.
Okay. Well, as you know, my name is James Legate. I'm in 1999, I was convicted for the 1998 murder of investor Eddie Garcia, who the media dubbed as the Bingo King. He was very highly influential individual that had ties with congressmen, senators, lawyers, judges. I mean, he was in everybody's pocket. Sort of attention out of everything that I read. You know, in the beginning of my trial, I didn't know anything about this man. All I knew was they were charged me for his murder, which murder I did not commit. I have been fighting my case since day one. I've been looking into my case and and I've been blessed with this Lord Burke out of Detectives Observer magazine, who wrote an article in the May 20th, 2011 issue. Shows the first exculpatory evidence they withheld from me. In other words, what they withheld was a witness who I was looking for that day actually saw my name in a subpoena and said that I didn't do it. Told the investigator that, but they hid her. And after my conviction 20 years later, they found the individual who they said that had me commit this crime alive, which during trial, they actually said that they had learned that he was killed in Mexico. But the craziest part of my case, which I cannot understand, I'm still trying to piece together, I cannot find any case like mine where they brought the evidence of the newly discovered evidence to the prosecutor saying, hey, this guy's not dead, he's alive, which can be seen on the documentary that Ms. Isis Romero and her team produced for KSAT 12 on YouTube, entitled Conviction, the Bingo King Murder. But what's so crazy is that though the guy was dead, they had a witness who had personally overheard this man telling me that I needed to go and hurt this person talking about Mr. Garcia. Well, when they discovered that Mr. Zamora was in fact alive, now the state, they actually changed their tune. Their whole tune is like, well, it's more than likely that Mr. Zamora will ever face any independent cooperation to bring a case against him. Not even the person who had personal knowledge of this fact. And this is where I'm at right now. This is where I can't understand, because now if you take away the main character, which is the accuser, you take him away. Then you're taking away the person who allegedly had me commit this crime. I'm here on nothing. What am I here for? I don't have
Well, y'all, I am truly, truly sorry, but apparently, there we're having some technical difficulties. Shanette has dropped off. We're gonna see if she comes back on. Hopefully, she will come back on. I truly, truly apologize. Um, Meanwhile, we're gonna play a video that she wanted to share with you guys concerning. Truly sorry, but apparently, there we're having some technical difficulties. Shanette has dropped off. We're gonna see if she comes back on. Hopefully she will. So y'all just hold on just a second. Hopefully she'll get back on.
Mr. Legate has always maintained that there was more to this case than what was presented at the trial. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. One of the sound bites that the prosecutors gave us was that this was an open and shut case, that this was one of the easiest murder cases that they've ever tried. And there was a lot more to this. Just the fact that Zamora is out there in existence when they all but gave up in ever finding him. And, one of the things that the prosecutor said was, well, we couldn't bring a case against him, and I'm paraphrasing here. But the pursuit of justice to me means more than just, are you able to get a case against him, but are you able to question him and even determine whether or not he had anything to do with it. And so, there were a lot of lingering questions that I think we helped to answer in this process. So yes, I agree that there was much more to this story.
Did you contact additional people who weren't in this documentary for any additional sources, just additional information?
I explored a lot of, I don't know if conspiracy theories is the right phrase for it, but went down a lot of rabbit holes that were mentioned either in the trial or in some of the appeal paperwork that came after the conviction of Legate, and spent an extensive amount of time just making sure that those weren't factual leads.
Mr. Legate has always maintained that there was more to this case than what was presented at the trial. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. One of the sound bites that the prosecutors gave us was that this was an open and shut case, that this was one of the easiest murder cases that they've ever tried. And there was a lot more to this. Just the fact that Zamora is out there in existence when they all but gave up in ever finding him. And, one of the things that the prosecutor said was, well, we couldn't bring a case against him, and I'm paraphrasing here. But the pursuit of justice to me means more than just, are you able to get a case against him, but are you able to question him and even determine whether or not he had anything to do with it. And so, there were a lot of lingering questions that I think we helped to answer in this process. So yes, I agree that there was much more to this story.
Did you contact additional people who weren't in this documentary for any additional sources, just additional information?
I explored a lot of, I don't know if conspiracy theories is the right phrase for it, but went down a lot of rabbit holes that were mentioned either in the trial or in some of the appeal paperwork that came after the conviction of Legate, and spent an extensive amount of time just making sure that those weren't factual leads. So a lot of the behind the scenes work that we did never even made it into the 6 episodes.
What happens next? Will there be more to follow in the case of James Legate?
That's a good question. I think it all depends. I know that we've now revealed our findings to all the parties involved. We've revealed our findings to Mr. Legate. And so it's unknown what happens
I don't know
next.
if you guys heard Mr. Legate speak before we got the connection went down on us. But I have a question for you right quick, Mr. Legate. How do you feel? How did the justice system fail you? We know that, I know that by looking at the documentary that they found the man that supposedly paid you to do this hit. They found him alive after someone stated that he was stabbed in Mexico. The investigative team found him over in Mexico. So I know that much, but I want to hear it coming from you.
Well, yes. You see, and this is what I was talking about earlier, and what I've been saying, which is really kind of crazy to me, because the whole argument of the state, their whole theory was this was a hired hit. This even though the word hired hit wasn't there, they established that Mr. Zamora is saying that he had problems with some kind of abogado, which is an attorney. Although Mr. Garcia was not an attorney, he said, look, he's having some problems, he needed protection, and he needed that man hurt. Well, this is according to Jesse Hernandez, whose real name is Juan Antonio Hernandez. What happened there is during my trial, the state prosecutors came up and they said, hey, we just learned that Mr. Zamora was actually killed in Mexico. Okay, so that just set the jurors, the judge, everybody, and the audience, everybody, even me, with just believing what the state was presenting at that moment. Jesse Hernandez's personal testimony that he overheard this man say that I should go and hurt this man. He also said that there were two other individuals at this so-called meeting that I was supposed to have been in, which was Robert Montes and Gilbert De Hoyos. But those two individuals were never at my trial. They never testified for me, against me, or anything. In other words, I don't understand why. And those are cooperating testimonies that could have helped Jesse's testimony. So what happens now is that when Ethan Romero and her team, they put a lot of legwork into this investigation of my case, and all they said was they're trying to find the truth to unanswered questions. So they went and they searched and they found that Zamora was actually alive in Mexico. So when they hired a team to go out there and interview Mr. Zamora, he even admitted, hey, look, I don't know nothing about this case. I was at the man's funeral. He was my friend. We were never business partners, which was the state's argument that they were business partners. He said, we're not business partners or nothing. He goes, I don't have nothing to do with his murder. I'm looking at his funeral. And that's it. But now that the state learned that he was alive, their whole tune changed. There's no evidence to bring a case against Mr. Zamora. Not even Jesse Hernandez's, or they don't even want to give Robert Montes or Gilbert De Hoyos and give me an evidentiary hearing so that we can supplement the record with the facts. Because I don't have nothing to hide.
I was looking at episode 5, and I will you guys, when you have the time, please go look at episode 5. That's when everything the supposedly evidence and stuff is supposed to be shown. But you will also know Mr. Legate said Jesse Hernandez he used his brother name. So the little brother used the big brother name, and once the investigation team, you know what? Go watch it. You will see. I want you guys to see exactly what I seen, and look at the face of the prosecution. Look at their faces.
Mr.
I think I'm all right. I'm back. Look at their faces when the
But the prescription means more than
Could you What happens next?
That's a good question.
He said that guy straight across the parking lot.
But the pursuit of justice more than
What happens next?
That's a good question.
Has access to something that was put in your file. Have you done anything?
One of the but the pursuit of
If the cut was ignored, then they violated my
factors. So a lot of the behind the scenes
What happens
That's a good question.
Okay? We're going to talk about it.
I'll call you right back.
Mr. The
One of the sounds in the but the pursuit of justice is more than
So a lot of behind the scenes never.
What happens?
That's a good question.
Mr. The Gates
Absolutely.
Garcia was shot in cold blood in the office of his home healthcare business. Shortly after Garcia was killed, 37-year-old James Legate, who was seen fleeing the scene, was arrested for the murder.
Okay, and we're back. I have Cornel and Mr. Legate on, and we were just talking about the me and Mr. Legate was just talking about the gun, because that's kind of strange that if your case you said this is an ongoing investigation, and I know you still have the right to appeal your case.
Right.
And from what I seen on the documentary episode 5, I truly believe, if I heard it right, that the gun is no longer in existence. All they had was a picture of it.
Well, I do know one thing. If they do destroy it and they give me an opportunity for a new trial, I'm going to have to, I have that opportunity to have it tested again. Now, you know, like I said, according to the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, I have the code there somewhere. I think it's 34, 17 or 19, something like that. It clearly shows the preservation of evidence. And if the preservation of evidence, they shows that if, for instance, there is no more ongoing investigations or anything to do with that, they can time in Gonzales County for an aggravated for an assault charge. But I also learned that that same case, I have the police department call number, that it's still to this day on his brother's record because he was using his brother's name. Remember?
Right.
And what's so crazy is that during trial, see, all the investigation I have right now, right? I have what they call it the prosecution guide report. That prosecution guide report, I think all investigating officers in every county, every state, they do this, and they have this once they're completed their investigation, they give it to the prosecutors so that they can build their case off of all the evidence that the prosecutors, that the detectives already accumulated. So throughout all the paperwork I have, I found that he was charged, all this stuff, but like during the trial, he gave his real name. Juan Antonio Hernandez. But from the beginning of the investigation, of this murder investigation, he used Jesse Hernandez. I got every paperwork and everybody who even testified or talked to the detectives, they said, well, this is John Hernandez. But he said, no, this is Jesse Hernandez. Even his girlfriend, Cheryl Rios. Well, he got subpoenaed under Jesse Hernandez to go to the grand jurors. So even in the grand jury, he lied about his whole identity. So everything about this man, what he did, he lied about everything. Well, when he went to trial, he did give his real name. But when they asked him, did they promise you anything, or did you get any deals or nothing, he said no. Well, technically, he was under Juan Antonio Hernandez. But when you go back to the original name that he used, Jesse Hernandez, you're going to find that police case that he was indicted and charged for possession of cocaine. Now, they just dismissed that case for his testimony. So that's another area that where the judicial system failed me. They failed me because they didn't care about justice. All they wanted was a conviction, which they got.
Mm-hmm.
And 26 plus years later, here I am still trying to find it. But what got them into jail was that when they found that Zamora was alive, now they didn't know what to say. Oh, we can't bring him back because we really don't have no evidence against him.
Yeah.
We only used him because he was actually dead. He was killed. That's what we learned. So we went with this case, but now what do they have?
And
Why am I in prison?
And I want to jump in because everything that you saying is in the documentary. Everything that you're saying, just by looking at the documentary 5 on today, so I can get caught back up and saying that it was two brothers, but one of the brothers didn't know that the other brother was using his name. If the police department would have did the
Mr. Legate
investigation,
has always maintained that
like
there was
the
more to this
investigation
case than what
team
was
from
presented at
Channel
the trial.
12,
Do you agree?
there's no
Oh,
way
absolutely.
you should be sitting
One of the sound
in
bites
prison
that the
for
prosecutors
26
gave us
years.
was that this was an
You done
open and shut
gave the
case, that
state
this
of
was one of
Texas-
the
the
easiest
state of
murder
Texas
cases that they've ever
26 years
tried.
of your life
And
for
there was a lot
crime
more
that
to
you
this.
didn't
Just
commit.
the fact
That
that
I believe
Zamora
that
is out
the
there in
person that
existence
actually committed
when they all but
is,
gave up
you know,
in ever finding
he's
him.
in the wind
And,
somewhere.
you know, one of the
And
things
they
that the
cannot
prosecutor
bring-
said
they
was, well, we
won't
couldn't bring a
bring
case against
Zamora
him. You know, and I'm paraphrasing here.
when
But
he's supposed to be the
the
one
pursuit
that
of justice to me
supposedly
means more than just are
paid
you
you to
able
do
to get a
it.
case
They
against him,
won't
but are
bring
you able
charges up against
to
him.
question him
That- I mean,
and
so-
even determine whether
Like
or
you
not
said, where's
he had
your
anything to do with
accusers?
it.
Where
And
are
so,
they at?
you know,
Why
there
do
were
an
a lot of
innocent
lingering
man
questions that I
must sit
think we helped to
in prison
answer
for something
in
he
this
didn't do?
process.
26 years.
So yes, I agree that there was much more to this
Cornel,
story.
I know you want
Did
to
you contact
jump in.
additional
Tell me.
people who weren't
you know,
in this
what's-
documentary for any additional sources, just additional information?
I explored a lot of, I don't know if conspiracy theories is the right phrase for it, but went down a lot of rabbit holes that were mentioned either in the trial or in some of the appeal paperwork that came after the conviction of Legate, and spent an extensive amount of time just making sure that those weren't
Wow,
factual.
because the gun was never
So a
removed
lot of
from the police department.
the behind the scenes work that we did never even made it into 6 episodes.
What happens next? Will there be more to follow in the case of James Legate?
That's a good question. I think it all depends. I know that we've now revealed our findings to all the parties involved. We've revealed our findings to Mr. Legate. And so it's unknown what happens next. I think there are differing opinions on what avenues are available to Mr. Legate now that we have found what we found and we're sharing it with the public. And so that'll be yet to be determined what happens in this seemingly nonstop saga of
all
the
the
King.
guns that were testified on that day. That gun that come out of your case has to be listed on that.
Mr. Legate has always maintained that there was more to this case than what was presented at the trial. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. One of the sound bites that the prosecutors gave us was that this was an open and shut case, that this was one of the easiest murder cases that they've ever tried. And there was a lot more to this. Just the fact that Zamora is out there in existence when they all but gave up in ever finding him. And, you know, one of the things that the prosecutor said was, well, we couldn't bring a case against him. You know, and I'm paraphrasing here. But the pursuit of justice to me means more than just are you able to get a case against him, but are you able to question him and even determine whether or not he had anything to do with it. And so, you know, there were a lot of lingering questions that I think we helped to answer in this process. So yes, I agree that there was much more to this story.
Did you contact additional people who weren't in this documentary for any additional sources, just additional information?
I explored a lot of, I don't know if conspiracy theories is the right phrase for it, but went down a lot of rabbit holes that were mentioned either in the trial or in some of the appeal paperwork that came after the conviction of Legate, and spent an extensive amount of time just making sure that those weren't factual. So a lot of the behind the scenes work that we did never even made it into the 6 episodes.
The gun is destroyed. How, you know,
What happens next? Will there be more to follow in the case of James Legate?
That's a good question. I think it all depends. I know that we've now revealed our findings to all the parties involved. We've revealed our findings to Mr. Legate. And so it's unknown what happens next. I think there are differing opinions on what avenues are available to Mr. Legate now that we have found what we found and we're sharing it with the public. And so that'll be yet to be determined what happens in this seemingly nonstop saga of the King murder.
The district attorney's office have to get an order from a judge to do that. But they have to notify you.
Mr. Legate has always maintained that there was more to this case than what was presented at the trial.
Why?
Do you
Because
agree?
you can object
Oh,
to them
absolutely.
destroying the gun. Why? Because the
One
gun
of the
can be
sound
used
bites
to
that
retest
the
or
prosecutors gave
retest.
us was that this was
But
an
because
open
they
and
did
shut
not
case,
do
that this was
Mr.
one of the
Legate,
easiest
that
murder
gun was
cases
never
that
the
they've
murder
ever
weapon.
tried.
And I know that
And
for a
there was
fact.
a lot more
Believe
to
me.
this.
That gun was
Just the
never the
fact
murder weapon.
that
So when you
Zamora
find
is
your
out
court
there in
reporter,
existence
ask your court
when
reporter to
they
send you
all
a
but gave
copy of all
up
these
in ever
evidence
finding
that was
him.
admitted to your
And,
trial,
you know, one of the
and
things that the
don't
prosecutor
file a
said was, well,
motion
we
to
couldn't
have
bring a
that gun
case
destroyed
against
and
him. You know what I
if they
mean?
have it destroyed. They're going to tell you that the Bexar County Sheriff's Department destroyed the gun. So now you go to the Bexar County Sheriff's Department and ask them to give you an itemized list of all the weapons that were destroyed by them during the time frame that your weapon was destroyed. And I guarantee you they do not have that document, sir. So with that being said, this is whole newly discovered evidence showing that you would be legally framed by the San Antonio Police Department, the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office, and the state of Texas. That's your case, Mr. Legate.
Yeah,
So track down the
yes,
gun.
I see that. I see that, and the only evidence that the testimony they had regarding the gun was Jamie Becker. She was a firearm expert who testified that she was the one who actually fired the weapon to make sure it matched the shells that were inside the gun that they found, and she said it was. And then the medical examiner said that the bullet shells they did match. Or she said that the bullet that they took out of Mr. Garcia, they found, did match the gun that they actually found. So those are the only things that I had to go on that made me say, okay, well they're saying that's the gun that shot Mr. Garcia. Now, you know, in the prosecution guide report, Shanette was talking about oh, you said something earlier, and my brain just went fried right now because I was talking about the gun. Throughout the investigation reports, like on Mr. Hernandez, right? When they said that he fled to Mexico. What I didn't understand is, and this is why I never questioned about his death was Mr. Zamora death is because the investigator, the detective, King Albright, he was the lead investigator in this case. There was a notation in there that he contacted the Mexico Attorney General trying to put out a case for Mr. Zamora to see if they can locate him, which the Attorney General, Mr. Adrian Tejeda, I think his name was, that he said yes, he was going to go ahead and do that, try to see if we can locate Mr. Zamora. But then, like during trial, they said that they learned that he was killed there. Well, it popped in my head this question, well, if that's the case, why did they not contact the Attorney General again to make sure that he was actually killed? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I didn't know, and that's another question that popped in my head because that's, if you're looking for a man that went to Mexico and you contact the Attorney General, but then you find out that he's killed, would it be feasible to actually try to find out if he was actually killed?
But you know,
If he's actually dead?
I want to jump in right here. Watching the documentary, the investigative team that was in Mexico that actually went into Zamora's house reported back to the investigating team over in Texas that he said that he was kidnapped. It wasn't never that he was killed or anything. He said he was kidnapped and he finally escaped. And then the prosecution, the lady, she said, well, wouldn't you be afraid you walking around looking over your shoulders? And I'm saying to myself, like, this is the guy that supposedly set everything in motion, that was supposed to have paid for a hit, and you feeling sympathy for him because he quote unquote said he was kidnapped. The man ran away with another woman, divorced his wife, left his business. You know what? You guys go watch episode 5. I mean, it's a documentary, and when I talk about, when I see the injustice, and that's why I'm so passionate, you know, Go watch the whole documentary from 1 all the way to 6. You will see what I see. You know, no gunshot residue on his clothes, on his hand, no blood splatter on him. It's a taco stain. They say that he was sitting in a bar, casing the place. He's a repo man. What do people that repossess cars do? They sit and they watch and they take down license plates number. They know where you work at because you don't put the addresses down on the paper, on your finance papers. They know where you stay at. He's a repo man. And then what if you hire a hitman? What hitman is going to leave his car at the scene of a crime and leave his identification, leave everything in his car? You know, it's articles. I sent Mr. Legate articles of what was saying about him in these articles. I wish you guys can read these articles, because if you see the names that's associated with Mr. Legate's case, is no way he should be sitting in there. He was just an scapegoat. That's all. They used him. Please go watch the documentary. They have he's an innocent man. He done gave, like I'm gonna keep saying this, the state of Texas 26 years of his life for nothing.
Okay.
Let me let my co-host jump in, because I feel my blood pressure kind of rising.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Legate, sir, I'm going to the other side. And when I get to the other side, the first thing I am going to do is go to the city hall to speak to the city mayor, the city councilor, the county commissioner, the county judge, the chief of police, the FBI, and everybody. And I am going to go have them to put up all of the documents about this weapon. Why? Because this gun is puzzling me. And I know it can't be the murder weapon, sir. You have been delivered claims by the police department, the medical examiner's office, and the state of Texas. They do this every day. So my point to you, sir, is that as of right now, sir, you are chasing what they know you'll never catch. So what you have to do, you have to go back and disprove everything they say they did to you. Find out about that murder weapon. Because the murder weapon is what's linking you to the crime, despite the fact that this guy said that he saw you, or he told you to do this, or you saw you get a gun with it. The murder weapon is the what piece of evidence the jury felt linked you to the crime. Why? Because the ballistic expert testified to it, and the medical examiner testified that that was the bullet from the gun that was used. So mind yourself. In my case, the ballistic expert never tested the gun, but he testified in my trial. The homicide detective lied and said that he tested the gun. Guess what? He never sent the gun to be test fired. So you have been deliberately framed by nothing but lies by the Barrett County District Attorney's Office, the police department, and the medical examiner's office, sir. So from me to you, sir, I know your case. And I am going to do what I can to try to get you the help. And if anybody's listening to this podcast tonight, we would like to ask for you to join Mr. Legate in his fight to seek justice. How? Why? We're asking for y'all to sign on to a petition to the district attorney's office, the chief of police, the city mayor, and anybody to have them to pull up all the documents related to the whereabouts of the gun, how it was test fired, when it was test fired, who test fired it, and how. And I guarantee you that that weapon is going to come back proving that it's not the murder weapon and that it was never removed from a property room, because you got to have property tags showing that it was removed, and that property tag has to be signed by a division commander. If that never happened, Mr. Legate's case is no good, and they would have to give Mr. Legate a new trial. That just proves the state's whole case right there.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Legate, I'm sorry, sir, that this happened to you like this, sir, but I would do what I can. I ask the audience, whoever that's supporting this, to support Mr. Legate and see if we can get Mr. Legate a new trial by asking for them to give us the information about the gun. The property tags,
Yes.
ballistic reports, and all.
We got 9 minutes
That's
left.
it.
So Mr. Legate, I'm gonna give you a chance to say your speech. My pressure done went up sky high because you know how I get about you, Mr. Legate. So,
I know.
so I'm gonna give you some closing remarks, and then we're gonna shoot back to my co-host, and then I may say a word or two. I'm just over here just trying to calm down. You know, I'm just so passionate about this, and I don't like what the justice system is doing to our men, our brothers. You know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Mr. Legate.
Oh, thank you, Angela, and Mr. Cornel, for everything that your suggestions, your input, everything that you're doing. I truly appreciate it. But like I say, and I continue to say, you know, I know the outside audience. If you have curiosity, look at the documentary. You don't have to believe in what I say. Look at the evidence for yourself. See what you see. I mean, if you like mysteries, murder mysteries, and anything to that fashion, look at it. I mean, I've done anything and everything possible I could do. You can just Google my name. You're going to have everything put up about my case. You're going to have the documentary. You're going to have the stories written. You're going to learn about everything about my case. Formulate the opinion how you see it. How do you see justice? How do you see the judicial system? Are they right? Are they correct on how they played their hand in this one? You know, I mean, just think about it. Even and I'm going to use it on Robert Robertson's case, where they gave him a 30-day stay. He was planning to be executed for the murder of his daughter. Well, science has already debunked the shaking baby syndrome. She died. We got proof that she died of a pneumonia or some kind of other illness. Think of the judicial system, how they're applying this, because even our own governor in the state of Texas still wants this man convicted, no matter what the evidence shows. So can you imagine in my case, there is no evidence now that can support that have the guy supposed to deny me to do the hit because there's no evidence. The main witness they used to convict me, his credibility is out the window now. He's already been given immunity. He was given his drug charge was dismissed for testifying against me. They presented false testimony and they furnished evidence, everything. So think about it. Is this the way our judicial system works? We're supposed to be able to have a fair and impartial trial, but I don't see it, and that's how I feel. And I'm praying that maybe one day I can at least be able to walk out this door proving that fact. I thank you, Angela. Thank you, Mr. Cornel, for having me back. And audience, I thank you all for giving me the time. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Cornel.
Okay, first of all, I want to say thank you, Miss Angela. I want to say thank you, Miss Shanette Johnson, for having us on tonight. And I would like to say that for the audience that's listening to this podcast tonight, we apologize for any difficulties that we may have had tonight. But, you know, going into 2025, we will try to make sure that we lessen our difficulties and make sure that you get a proper show, because tonight is a good show. And you will always get a good show from Let's Talk About It. So with that being said, we appreciate you very much for joining us tonight on tonight's show. Now, as far as Mr. Legate's story and all of the stories around here in the state of Texas has a pattern of convicting innocent people. And with this pattern of convicting innocent people, thousands and thousands of innocent men and women are sitting behind prison walls without a voice. Well, Let's Talk About It is a voice. The Crew Podcast is a voice. And these individuals are dedicated, it's very hard working people that's willing to give you a voice. So for anyone who has a story that's willing to come and talk about it, let's please come to the Let's Talk About It show or join the Crew Podcast. And Mr. Legate, we appreciate you for coming on tonight, Mr. Legate. And whatever we can do to help you, Mr. Legate, we will do that. So for anybody listening to this podcast, we ask that you support Mr. Legate and his efforts to seek his innocence. And I ask that if there's any way possible we can petition the city officials, county officials, and state officials, please ask that they look into the weapon that was used in Mr. Legate's obligate a new trial. I guarantee that. So thank you very much, Ms. Shanette, for having me on. Thank you, Ms. Angela, for bringing us on tonight. And thank you, Mr. Legay, for being on, sir.
Okay. And I
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you, Ms. Angela.
I appreciate you guys for coming on, especially you, Mr. Legay. I want you to call me tomorrow, let's see, it'd be 12 o'clock. 2 o'clock your time, which would be 12 o'clock California time. So I can play the
I will do my best to be there.
Okay, so I can play the thing so you can hear it. I would like to thank you guys, the listening audience, for tuning in today. This is when we talk about injustice, it's very a touching subject. You know, maybe I'm too compassionate, or I don't know, but I just don't like to see the wrongness that's happening to anybody. It doesn't. I don't care what color. You can be orange or green. Injustice is an injustice. I'm here to bring the truth. I want to stand on my truth. I want to stand up against the truth. You have a lot of people out there that says that they're against injustice. And I keep reaching out to them. Let's stand together. Let's come together. If we come together, we'll be powerful. Our voices will be heard. Instead of everybody branching off, doing whatever, I'm going to just help this one person and pull them out. It's over 9,000 men and women that's wrongfully incarcerated in the state of Texas. Google it. I did, and it showed me how many people is in there wrongfully. You just cannot get out, just pull one person out and go and just leave it alone. When you have 9,000 people in there, more than 9,000.
1 minute left.
Come on, you guys, let's get together and let's do something. Let us make our voices heard. I know my husband gonna call me and he's gonna say, "Babe, your blood pressure done ran up." So I'm gonna go ahead and end this and finish drinking my water and using my voice. And if you're not using your voice for good, stay in your lane. Don't even say nothing. Just like when you guys went out and voted. Good night and have a good night. Love you.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Shanette, Angela, Cornel.
Love you too, Mr. Legay.
All right. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, we got to get that that gun is the